Hi, I'm Christine Herman of Herman's Quality Meat Shop in Newark, Delaware. Welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I will be talking about the benefits of chicken bone broth and how to make your very own. You might want to bookmark this or save it to your favorites so you can refer to it as needed and even share it with a friend. Are you ready? Making your own anything from scratch can be time-consuming and very rewarding at the same time. You also have control over the ingredients that you put into your soups and stocks and any recipe that you make, and you know exactly what's in it. And when it comes to making your own bone broth, it's very important. And I'm sure you've noticed that there's been a craze over the past several years about making your own and the very essence of why we do it. But you know, the Chinese have actually been making their own for over 2,500 years. That's crazy, right? Bone broth, particularly in this case, chicken bone broth, is very high in vitamins, minerals, amino acids, and proteins to help build your bones and your immune system. So here we go. It's also good for your digestive system. I'm pretty excited about this. Ready? So there are two ways to start your bone broth. The first is if you've made chicken and you have a carcass from your chicken, you can actually just save that and utilize it. Or you can start from scratch with raw bones like I have here. And these are breast bones from your chicken. So chicken breast bones. We sell a ton of these all the time. So what you're going to want to do is we're going to just sort of start from the raw stage. You're going to take these raw bones, you're going to lay them out into a tray, and as I'm going to show you here that I've done, and then you're going to roast them. And I have here my roasted bones, and I want to keep the cooked from the raw, just to be sure. So you want to roast them for about 30 minutes at about 300 or about 400 degrees, probably a little better, to be sure that they're well cooked and that they're roasted and not just baked. So once you've done this, then you're also, if you'd like, I like to roast my vegetables as well. Carrots, celery, and onions, staple in every kitchen, in my opinion, as well as fresh garlic. So I am going to take these, and then once you've roasted your bones, or you take your bones from your carcass that's cooked, you're going to take your stock pot, and this is a small stock pot, but a nice one nonetheless. And you're going to add the bones and all of the goodies that go with it. Yep, I just splashed myself, but that's okay. It's all part of the cooking process, right? You got to get into it. And we're going to add some of this gelatinous goodies stuff in here into the pot, and it's sort of fighting me. So you want to be mindful. You might want to actually do this in your sink so you don't have a mess. So we're just going to add some into this pot because this is a smaller pot, but that's okay. And then you're going to add your vegetables the same way. Nice and beautiful. And if you're hungry, snack on one while you're at it. So there you have that. And then you're going to take your good water. I always refer to this as good water because, no offense to the city of Newark, but I like to use either distilled water or spring water in my cooking. And I'm going to fill this to about an inch or so over the top of the bones. And you get the hint. We'll just stop there for the moment. And then you're going to add some garlic, vinegar. This is apple cider vinegar, or you could use fresh squeezed lemon juice, a little bit of salt. And the salt is not designed to be salt to taste. It's just designed to help pull out the nutrients in the bones, and bay leaf, or two in this case. The vinegar, I did a little research, was wondering why you want to use the vinegar or the acid, the lemon juice, and that also helps to pull the nutrients out of the bones to make that juice, not the juice, but to make the broth more rich and nutrient based. So we're going to take this nice pot here and we're going to put it on our stove, which I don't have here because my kitchen is elsewhere in my store. You're going to cover it and you're going to bring it to a nice boil. And once it starts to boil, you're going to tilt the lid, take the lid off and let it boil, and then you're going to bring it down to a simmer. You do not want this to boil rapidly because otherwise your broth will turn cloudy and that's not ideal. So what you're going to want to do is keep an eye on it for a while and let it come to a simmer. Once it's simmering, you're just going to let it cook for hours, and it's going to kind of work its way down to probably, we're talking about 8-10 hours of cooking, and you're going to stir it occasionally, of course, and you're going to let it reduce. That's the word I want to use. You're going to want to reduce it down to about half of the amount of water that's in here now. And you're going to let it cook, and you're saying to yourself, I have to go somewhere. I don't have all day to do this. Well, you can very easily turn it off, let it cool. You can even put it in the refrigerator overnight if you'd like, and then you can come back to it. You can take the impurities off the top and put it back on the stove and let it cook again. But the idea is to let this cook for a long period of time. And speaking of impurities, while this is simmering, you will notice that there might be some bubbles or foam or impurities, however you want to call it, coming to the top. And you're going to want to take a spoon like I had here, and you're going to want to gently scrape them off the top and remove them. I like to put them in a container and set them aside, and then when I've got all of that collected, put a lid on it and just discard it. Never put that grease down your sink. You always want to be mindful of that. And just remove those as much as you can. And after this pot has cooked and reduced down to, like I said, about a half to a third, it sounds maybe kind of wasteful in a way, but it's really important to do that because that's what makes it nice and gelatinous. Strain it and remove all of the bones and the vegetables, and then refrigerate in another container and let it cool and refrigerate overnight. And then any extra grease will come to the top, and you want to scrape that off, and then you have an amazing chicken bone broth that you can enjoy on a cold winter's night. You can have it for lunch and just get the nutrients from it that it's designed to have. You can, if you'd like, even use it in recipes if you would like to do that. You might want to dilute it if it becomes too gelatinous for you if you're cooking rice or something like that, but it would definitely make an awesome addition to any recipe that you have. I hope that was a helpful recipe and important for you to note, and I hope that you'll bookmark this and save it. So I want to set this aside and talk to you for just a minute. My cooking tip, my kitchen tip rather, is also about, and I've emphasized this on more than one occasion, on how to stay up with the cleaning up in the kitchen. And I always find it really important for me, while the pot's cooking, I've got my silverware, my dishes, my cutting board, my knives. I'm just kind of always cleaning up after. But when I'm done boiling this down or cooking this pot down, I end up with maybe a little ring around the pot, and I'm thinking to myself, how do I get this clean? Well, there's a couple of different ways that you can clean your pot. This is the tip. One of the things that I like to do is use some warm water and either baking soda or some white distilled vinegar, and let the pot soak in with that liquid in there for a couple of hours, and that will help to loosen and remove the debris that gets kind of cooked on. And if you need to, say, for example, if you get like a line up here where it's been cooking, you might want to fill the water up to that point and let it soak with the baking soda or the vinegar in it, and that will help to loosen any of that cooked on goodness that you need to remove. and scrape it and clean it with your sponge or your scrubby. And I hope that was a helpful tip. And I look forward to hearing some of your comments below on how you like your bone broth and if the tips were helpful. And certainly if you have any other cleanup tips that you want to share, please feel free to do that. Thank you. Making your own bone broth, especially chicken bone broth, is both rewarding and nutritious. I hope this was a recipe that you're going to want to keep handy, and keep your chicken broth handy as well in your refrigerator or in your freezer. You can store it in some containers in your refrigerator for several days and put it in the freezer for an infinite amount of time. And I hope that this pot of goodness will serve you well. Please remember to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, share this video with a friend, and we appreciate and thank you for being part of the Herman family. God bless you.